Hey guys, this is Manish Sethi, your #1 digital nomad, coming at you live again today from Portland, Oregon. I'm here with Sean Ogle from Location 180 and Location Rebel. Sean and I this is the first time we're meeting, but I've been following him for a few years. He's one of the main location independent professional guys online you're seeing these days, one of the 4-hour work week sort of lifestyle. And Sean agreed to be interviewed by me to talk a little bit about his lifestyle and talk about what he's doing. And his projects. So, Sean, can you go ahead and introduce yourself to my readers?
So I'm Sean Ogle. I run a site, location180.com. Basically, 2 years ago, I was unhappy with my life, so I quit my job almost, exactly 2 years ago. And I didn't know what I was going to do, so I decided to move to Thailand and actually start doing all of the stuff that I wanted to do in life. Travel, build a business, and I had no idea how it was going to happen, but things slowly fell into place, and I started learning more skills, and here I am now, and I've got a number of online businesses, and I'm able to travel around the world and kind of do whatever I want at the same time.
Only took you 2 years?
And, I would say after a year, I was completely self-sustaining.
It's amazing. It's really cool to see like the amount of time it takes for people and the ways in which people monetize or figure out a way to finance their lifestyle. And I've noticed that a lot of people have started off by doing some kind of like freelancing and such. But before we jump into monetization or your blog strategy, let's talk a little bit about what was your job before you started traveling?
So I used to be a financial analyst. I worked for a small investment firm here in Portland, and I sat at a cubicle for 60 hours a week just analyzing stocks and trying to find the best things to buy and sell for our clients. I realized very quickly I was probably the only person in Portland that had to wear a suit and tie to work, and that was really just not cool. And so finally it took me the better part of a year to actually get up the guts to do it. But it was a trip to Brazil that finally I used all my vacation time for the year to go to Carnival in Brazil. And after that, I was like, something's got to change.
Did you go to Rio or Salvador?
I went to Rio.
Nice.
Danced in the Carnival Parade, and literally the day I got back, I found Chris Guillebeau's blog. And so that's what started this whole thing. So I sent him an email. He had just moved to Portland. He agreed to meet me for a cup of coffee, and from there, I started my blog, and the rest was history.
So where have you been traveling since the last 2 years?
So last 2 years, I quit my job in October 2009, and I took off for Bangkok, Thailand, where I lived for 7 months, traveled around Southeast Asia. I went to Bali then, I went to the Philippines, came back, did a bunch of travel around the US to meet up with various people, the readers of my blog, mentors, some business partners, and then the most recent trip is I spent 2 months living in Bali.
Okay. And so what's your plan now? Is you're back in the States?
Plan now, I'm here for the holidays, just kind of enjoying time with friends and family, and I'm going to take off for Mexico in January and kind of use that as a jumping off point for maybe a few other trips.
Cool. I just spent the last year I went to Mexico. Man, it's such a good trip. It's such an easy, good trip that Americans don't do. I don't understand.
I've never been to Mexico. I've been all over Asia, but I've never been to Mexico, so I'm excited for this one.
And once you get to Mexico, it's super easy to jump down to Central America, and from Central America to South America.
I'm thinking another Carnival trip, maybe.
Yeah, Salvador next time, man.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
I lived there in 09, yeah, right by the time you were leaving, in Salvador, and that was insane. Super unsafe, but super. I lived on the same street as all of the transvestite prostitutes.
That's always fun.
So I would go outside at night sometimes, and I would just like say hi. I'm not gonna be rude.
And then they would all follow you home.
They lived next door to me. They knew where I stayed. But one day I went outside and I walked by one of the prostitutes, and I look at her and just give her an eye, and another guy's walking towards me, and he has his hand in his pocket, super sketchy. I'm really scared. He's about to walk up to me, and the prostitute looks at him and says, "No, not him," in Portuguese. And the guy looks at me, looks away, and just walks by me. I'm like,
wow.
I just got my life saved by a tranny prostitute.
And from that moment on, tranny prostitutes were okay in my book.
They were okay in my book. Exactly. So tell me a little bit about your blog. So what are you focusing on?
So when I started Location 180, I was solely using it as a vehicle to figure out what the hell I wanted to do with my life. I had no clue what I wanted to do. I was unhappy. And I created my bucket list. It was basically a way to hold myself accountable for all the things I wanted to do. And it's been pretty cool to see all the things I've done in the last 2 years because I published that and was held accountable by my readers and accountable to myself. And the blog's basically evolved into, the tagline kind of says it all. Build a business, live anywhere, achieve freedom. So I talk about using entrepreneurship as a vehicle to achieve your dreams, to travel the world, and generally just live a higher quality of life.
Okay. And so you found that travel really allowed you to find freedom and to do whatever you want to do?
Well, I've always wanted to travel the world. And so it started out as I used travel as a way to save money because, I quit my job, didn't have a ton of money saved up. So I went to Thailand where I could get a nice apartment in Bangkok for $200, live off, giant plates of pad thai that cost me $1. And so travel in that sense helped me build my business. Now I use travel as a way to help me establish my brand. I launched Location Rebel, my new program, I launched it by doing it in Bali. You know, if I'm going to launch a program about working from anywhere, I better be doing it someplace cool, right? So travel for me, not only is it, you know, an aspect of my business and my brand, but it's just fulfilling to me personally to go around the world, meet people that are doing things similar to me and just kind of, you know, be inspired by them and learn from them, you know, all over the place. It's really pretty cool.
Have you found that you have an easier time networking or building your business when you're in the U.S. than when you're traveling, or have you found it to be, with the internet these days, just as easy anywhere?
It's very different depending on where you are. So I go to Bali, and you probably aren't thinking of Bali as this big entrepreneur hotspot, but there's some guys over there, the tropicalmba.com. They've got a house over there, so there's kind of people that wouldn't have probably ordinarily come into Bali, maybe on backpacker scene or whatever, that have been popping through, and so I've had the opportunity to meet all sorts of people. One of the things is getting in touch with high-level businessmen in Asia is much easier than it is in the United States.
Really?
So I'm in Bali, and just by virtue of the fact I'm American, I can get in touch with a lot of the other English-speaking, you know, people. So I had drinks with a chairman of one of the big Southeast Asian airlines. You know, I played golf with the general manager of some, you know, very big name resorts. You know, just by, you know, having that little connection of being able to speak the same language, being from the same place, you're really able to get in touch with people much easier. The same was true in Bangkok. You know, I was able to get in touch with a lot of the big executives in Bangkok just by virtue of the fact they wanted to talk to me about what I knew, and I had something different to bring to the table.
Were these like Thai executives, or were they American executives who lived in Thailand?
Both.
Okay.
So I actually met a surprising amount of Thai executives.
Yeah.
Whereas you come back to the States, and if I wanted to, you know, sit down with Donald Trump, you know, it's not going to happen. You know, I don't really have anything to offer him.
Yeah.
Or at least, you know, that's probably how he would view it.
It's sort of that situation where you meet an American in another place, and you guys are best friends immediately because you're both American, and you come back here and you're like, dude, that guy is boring. How was I so friends?
Exactly. Exactly.
That's cool. And so did you go out of your way? Like, networking is really interesting to me, and I just wrote a huge article about networking and how to meet people that you really want to meet.
Yeah.
Did you find that it was like, how did you meet these people? Was it how did you know they were there, and then did you just send them an email, or go by LinkedIn?
First off, Twitter is huge. You know, you can go on Twitter, do a quick search for Bali or, you know, similar hashtags, immediately get a sense of who's there, what they're doing. Through my blog network, you know, I'm able to, you know, kind of put the call out, say, hey, is anybody in Bali or Thailand or wherever I'm going to be? And people start to come to you and say, oh, I'm going to be there at such and such date, you know, let's hang out. You know, it's kind of like you've read my blog, you've said, hey, I'm going to be in Portland, let's get together. You know, similar things work all across the world like that.
It's true, and Twitter's an interesting situation because like the 140 characters, nobody's not going to respond to that. And on emails, people never check their email, it disappears. But Twitter seems to be a really good way to just.
Well, the biggest problem most people have is when people approach me via email, they send these long messages, and I'll say, okay, I'm going to look at that later. 2 weeks down the road, I don't want to deal with that, archive. If someone sends me a quick 140 character message, hey, where are you at in Bali? I'm in Seminyak. Not hard to respond. Let's get together.
So when you say, like, this is interesting, how would you, like the emails that you get that you actually respond to, how do you like them to be written? Like what is the ideal email? How many sentences should it be, or what should it say?
I like emails that are 5 sentences or less.
Okay.
Tell me who you are, why you found me, why I'm interested to you, and what you're looking to get out of our relationship. So if you come to me and say, hey, I've been reading your blog for a really long time, I'm really inspired, this is what I've done because of it, I'm working on this blog and I had this quick question. You know, if you've got one quick question, you know, even if you have 1,000 questions, pick one and I'll probably give you an answer. And just starting that relationship's going to make it much more likely that I'll respond to more in-depth questions later on down the road.
I've also noticed that one of the most effective techniques is like if you have a simple email, fewer than 5 sentences, that says, do you mind if I ask you a few questions about something?
Yes.
And then you'll respond yes, and then you kind of screwed if you have to answer the emails.
Exactly, because that shows that people are respectful of my time and everything I'm doing. The people that just launch into, you know, huge essays about their life and what they're doing, you know, that's not really having respect for my time. And so showing that goes a long ways.
So how much emails do you get? Like, is it a lot of overload these days, or is it pretty manageable?
It's steadily grown to the point where, you know, it's definitely manageable, but I'm also at the point where I like to put things off, so it gets to the point where it's not as manageable. You know, I've got the total entrepreneur's ADD personality, so for me to sit down and actually do all the work is not always the easiest thing for me. So it's kind of my own fault.
Inbox zero, man. It's important.
It's been a long time since I've been there.
Oh man, but it's what happened to me, which was really interesting, was I told you about this month in the wild I spent.
Yep.
And I came back really worried about email, thinking about it all the time. I came back to 1,083 messages. I'm like, oh god, 1,083 messages. Then I went through it, and I realized that out of those 1,083 messages, there were like 9 or 14 that really needed a response, and most of it is just like crap and spam. But
Yep.
that data just gets in your head and it just boggles you and you just never get through them.
And it's the kind of thing, you think of the worst case scenario. If I just take my 1,083 emails and hit archive on all of them, is the world going to come to an end?
Yeah.
Probably not. You make sure you go through it, make sure there's nothing that says urgent, your grandma's dying.
Yeah.
But if that's really the point it gets to, where you just need a fresh start, just do it, and people will understand. If they really need to get a hold of you, they'll send you another email.
Yeah. One of my biggest regrets, though, is I did exactly that, and then one day later went through it, and one email was from the BBC wanting to write an article about me, and I'm like, ah!
That's the downside. That's the downside.
That
so
happens.
at least give it a quick scan.
Quick look. But so I'm interested a little bit in the method of growing your blog. So I talked to JD Roth today a little bit about how his blog started off just for friends and family.
Yep.
And then slowly, we're talking like 5-10 years, slowly started to get like Dig hit. He said Dig was the first thing, and then it just started to grow a little bit after that.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering with yours, was it like, how many viewers do you have, for example?
I've gotten to the point now where I'm getting right around 40,000 unique viewers a month.
Okay, so what is that a day? About 1,000.
About 1,000. About 1,000, a little more.
Okay. So you're getting 1,000 unique visitors a day. And so when you started 2 years ago, did you launch it basically in October 2 years ago?
I launched the site before I quit my job. So I launched the site in May of 2009.
Okay.
So almost 2.5 years ago.
So how was the growth? Like, was it pretty steadily growing? Or?
My growth, it's actually interesting. You look at a lot of the people in my niche, and they've got a lot of big spikes. So they'll hit Yahoo or MSN, and they'll get a ton of traffic. You look at my stats, and up until about the last 4 months, mine has been extremely steady. The first big thing I had, it's actually interesting you mentioned JD Roth. Right after I quit my job, I wrote a guest post for Get Rich Slowly.
Okay.
That was without a doubt the first big hit I ever had, and for almost a year and a half, that was the largest traffic day I ever had on my site. So,
okay. How much did that bring in? If you remember.
I think at the time I had about 5,000 visitors, something like that.
Uniques, yeah.
And then just in the last 4 months, I think I've kind of reached a tipping point, and things have exploded a little bit. I did reach the front page of Yahoo, and a variety of things have happened that have just kind of led to quicker growth, which has been fun to see.
Okay, so I've noticed that a recurring theme seems to be getting into getting on guest posts or getting on alternate medias.
Yeah.
Like that seems to be a big explosive growth factor for blogs. So how would you say that it's like for somebody who's just starting a blog who really wants to someday be on the front page of Yahoo or really wants to be on the front page of MSN?
I think getting exposure in a broad variety of areas is really huge. And, the idea of guest posting has been done to death. Everyone will tell you that, whatever. But for me, that's really what worked. Is I went to a couple different niches, whether it's JD, I went to Unclutter, which is kind of it's a big blog, but it's a little bit outside my niche. And I was able to get quite a few readers and quite a few subscribers from doing that. And once you've got more of a broad arching overview, people that are coming from all walks of life, then it gets easier to start going into some of those mass media channels. I woke up, it was like 3 weeks ago, and I had hit the front page of Yahoo. Unfortunately, I did not have a link back to my site because it was syndicated from I think it was the Young Entrepreneurs Council. But I think that day I had 300 people Google my name because that's all that was included. But just starting to use the leverage you've got to reach out to some of the major media channels and just being able to approach them and say, hey, I've got this idea, or hey, you should take a look at this, and opening up that conversation is huge.
It's interesting when you think about mass media because mass media is actually made up of journalists.
Yep.
And you don't have to approach the New York Times, you just have to approach one of the New York Times reporters. And my brother, whenever he wants to be in the New York Times, what he told me is he would basically just get a bunch of Twitter followers of his to follow another Twitter reporter. I went to follow another New York Times reporter. Reporters have 300 followers, not anybody special.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they get 1,000 followers in one day, and then he'll call up the journalist and be like, yo, I just got your 1,000 followers. What's going on?
Exactly. That's good advice right there.
Yeah. So the beauty of building a blog is building a leveraging platform, the way that I see it. And it seems like you're doing that a lot with your Location Rebel course, right?
Right. So the blog really, I wasn't necessarily, I do make some money off of it, but that was never the goal. The goal was to figure out what to do with my life, and then as it evolved, it was to leverage all the other opportunities. So I've got 250 plus posts where I've built credibility on the idea of working from anywhere. And so I'm able to take that credibility, transfer it over to Location Rebel and say, all right, I've shown you what I've done. Here's how you can do it too. And so that's worked out really, really well.
So let's talk a little about Location Rebel. Okay. So what is the course? Tell me about it.
So Location Rebel, the goal is to help you learn the skills necessary to build a business that you can run from anywhere. So there's so many people out there. They're talking about affiliate marketing, niche sites, social media, all of this stuff, but they fail to look at building real skills that you can build a real business around. So the idea here is I built 9 blueprints, and there's a couple more that are on the way that teach you skills like search engine optimization, copywriting, technical writing, web design, where I've brought in experts in those fields, people that have built 5-figure businesses around these concepts, and had them help me create blueprints to teach you from ground zero exactly how to learn these skills and then turn that into a business. So I launched the site to the beta group in July.
To what group?
To the beta group. So I opened it up for 20 people to kind of test it out, make sure it worked before I did the broader launch. And, you know, it's been really cool to see the majority of those people already creating an income through the skills they've learned.
That's pretty cool.
As soon as I got that first email saying I just booked my first, $1,000 SEO gig and I'm going to go travel to Thailand, from the United States to be able to do it, that was like, all right, I've done something right here.
It's a great feeling, right?
It's great. And so the community aspect to it, there's a forum that has really been much stronger than I could have ever anticipated. People are more than willing to help each other out, seek advice, ask questions, and I think that's really, the kind of the core of it is building that community and getting that support.
So how many subscribers do you have to the course?
I think right now we're at about 100.
About 100?
Yeah.
And then so is it mostly funneled through your website or through your email list?
It's a combination of both. So I get a lot of people that are coming from the Location 180 list and the Location 180 site. When I first launched the site, before I had even finished creating the product, I created what I called the Location Rebel Arsenal. It was a free ebook that teaches you or tells you all of the tools I use to work from anywhere. So I launched a page, gave that away for free and built up the Location Rebel email list, which is now even bigger than, my blog email list I've been working on for 2 years.
Yeah.
So just giving away very high quality content. I probably could have sold this for 20 or 30 bucks, but give it away for free. The people that are interested in the course will buy it, and the ones that aren't still got something valuable out of it.
Yeah. So you gave away an ebook in the same way that Chris Gillibo did with his manifestos, but you actually captured the email addresses.
Exactly.
Is that right?
Same kind of thing.
Okay. And so how did you launch? Because I'm working on an ebook right now that I'm about to launch for free to get email addresses.
Yep.
How did you actually launch it?
So basically I started the site with a squeeze page and the ebook and said, okay, did a big blog post about it. And within a couple months, I released a series of 4 videos to complement it. And so they're on ideas like how community is the most important aspect to building this type of business, to the idea of rapid skill building. And you can build real skills much faster than you think you'd be able to. And so once I got to video number 4, the course was ready, launched it to a beta group, basically said it's going to be open to the first 20 people that buy it, and then it's going to shut down for a little bit. And I was amazed. I was just hoping it would sell out in like a week. Yeah. And it sold out in 48 minutes. So I was sitting there. It was the biggest, business day of my life to see all these sales coming in and to see people, really excited about it. So, from there, then I, closed it down, worked really hard to make sure everyone was happy with it, worked out all the kinks. And then 2 months later, I went to Bali and re-released it.
Isn't it a good feeling when you launch your first product and you get your first sales and you're like, what is happening? Why is my PayPal account filling up?
It is the coolest feeling. And I've released a couple other smaller products, but this was the first one that I really spent a lot of time on to make sure, it was life-changing for people. And that's really what it's turned out to be, which has been fun.
What do you charge for the course?
It's $297.
$97? I'm always laughing at these numbers because my course is like $367. I'm like, I don't know why I picked that number. It just seemed cool.
It was interesting. So it was like, I was thinking, okay, I want to charge $300 for it because I wanted it to be a significant enough investment that people would buy it and actually do it.
Yeah.
It's like, I didn't want to have a forum full of, people that had just given up on it. So I was like, okay, $300 I feel like is an accessible number. It's not too much, but it's enough that people are going to take this seriously. And so I said, okay, how can I create a $300 course that would be worth $2,000?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I did. I said, what does a $2,000 course look like? Tried to back it up and then, put it into Location Rebel. And obviously you can't include all the things you want to, but it's steadily growing, steadily getting more blueprints, more interviews. And, I think that, it's a great course right now. And I think in 6 months, it's going to be even better.
So have you found that most of the people who are using your course are actually doing something with the course? Or would law kind of just let it go? And
I would say when I first started it, there's going to be the people that are super gung-ho about it, and there's going to be the people that are going to look at it and forget about it in a week, no matter what. It doesn't matter what you launch. I've been impressed at just how many people have been really active. So they've been going through the blueprints, they've been building the skills, they've been asking questions of other people in the forum that are doing the same things. And a very large majority of them, I would say full majority, but a lot of the people in the course have had a ton of success actually creating businesses, and they're on the track to be able to do it from anywhere. So
it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool when like you get that email from somebody who's like, "Thank you, man. My life has been changed. Now I'm traveling to Argentina." Or whatever.
One of the guys in the course, he quit his job and he's walking from, it was like Minnesota down to the tip of Argentina.
That's so cool.
Another guy who I did some consulting for, he quit his job or is preparing to quit his job, and he's going to do a motorcycle trip, all the way down to the tip of South America and back. So it's cool to see these people saying, hey, you helped me build the skills necessary to live my dreams.
Right?
It's been fun.
And we live in this cool society where finally, for the first time ever, we can actually do these things that are crazy and actually make money. Like, do you realize that 6 or 7 years ago, there was no Skype or YouTube? Like,
oh my goodness. The amount of potential that's possible right now because of technology, I wouldn't have been able to do this 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's one of the most difficult things I've found for people is that we've grown up in this society where for decades, you went to school, you got a job, you got married, it's very traditional. And so a lot of people I know, they're not pursuing this lifestyle because of all these old school stigmas. My parents aren't going to be happy with me if I do this. Everyone's going to judge me. And they don't realize just how possible it is, just how easy it is to, really live a cool, fulfilling lifestyle. There's always going to be the people that are happy in their 9-to-5 job, and, that's fantastic. But, I'm trying to market to the people that aren't happy, the ones that are kind of, just going with the flow and, kind of, pushing all their feelings aside. They know it's not right, but they're not willing to take a risk. And if you're willing to take even a little bit of a, an educated risk and start, working down this path, the possibilities are endless.
It's incredibly endless, and it's really cool to see like what people are doing with the opportunities and the constraints that they have these days. But one of the questions I got today for our interview was about dealing with peer pressure, or dealing with society, essentially. A lot of people are afraid, number one, that they're going to lose their friends, or that their friends don't agree with what they're doing, or that their family and whatever is not gonna accept them for what they're doing. Now, I understand like people who have a child or who have a relationship or whatever are in a situation that's a little bit different than us.
Yeah.
But what about the people who are similar to us but just are worried about society? How do you deal with peer pressure with the beginning of your trip?
Well, it hasn't been an easy road. I remember I posted my post to Get Rich Slowly 2 weeks after I left my job. And I got a lot of people that were, totally bashing me. I got trolls on my blog that would leave, angry posts on everything saying
what?
You're ungrateful for the opportunity you were given at the job. There's no way you're going to be able to make this work. You're just, another, quote unquote, lifestyle designer that's using it to just take a vacation and using that as, the guise of, something that's meaningful. And 2 years later, it's pretty cool to look back and say, hey, what's up now? But the most important thing, that's why I was talking about the importance of community. If you want to do this, you've got to surround yourself with people that, either are supportive of what you're doing or, more importantly, people that are trying to do the same thing. And for most people, that's not going to be your close friends and family. You're going to have to go online or go to meetups and, get integrated into this new community. And the more success you have, the more other people are going to come around. A lot of my friends looked at it and they're like, you're moving to Thailand? Like, why would you? You've got this great life. Why would you do that? And a lot of people take it personally. They're like, oh, what? I'm in a 9-to-5 job. Is that not good enough for you? And that's totally not true. It just wasn't right for me at the time. So the more success I've found, the more people embrace it. And, the people that really love and support you, no matter what, they'll come around. And, if you can find a few people to rely on, I had like one guy in particular, it was my best friend, and he was doing something similar. And so to be able to turn to him and talk to him about it, that was really important for me.
Yeah. I noticed that my travel period has gone through a lot of ups and downs, and I've been tracking it, in my mind and trying to figure out when I wanted to quit and go home the most versus when I was just like, this is amazing. This is what my dream is.
Yeah. And
like basically my story really quickly is that I was freelancing the first year and a half while I started my blog, launched the blog. Started to take off, and then in 2010 August is when I had my first product sale that just allowed me to stop freelancing. And I realized when I looked back that the times that I wanted to quit the most were the times that I had put myself in situations where I was not around people who were doing what I was doing or wanted to do, or were supportive of what I was doing. So when I lived in India, there wasn't a community in this village I was in which was doing entrepreneurial things.
Yeah.
Whereas in the last few months, being in Berlin and not just being in Berlin and talking to like normal people, but being in Berlin and finding the entrepreneurs who are doing what we're doing in Berlin, and then coming to San Francisco, obviously, or coming to Portland, you see these people everywhere, has been like you just jump through it. I've been writing this article called "You Are the Average of the 5 Closest Friends to You," and it's amazing that like when you look at the people that you surround yourself with, you kind of are the average of who they are. If you hang out with people who are way cooler than you are, or who are like doing whatever the 5 people you were close to are doing, that's what you start doing.
Exactly. That's actually a really good way of looking at it. I'm excited to read that article.
Yeah, I gotta publish it sometime. So when you look at your closest group of like influencing people, like who would you say are some of the biggest lifestyle designers or anybody really who've made you who you are these days?
Without a doubt, Chris Guillebeau. Chris has been my mentor since I started. I still remember we used to meet for coffee, probably once a month, once every 2 months. And I still remember it was August of 2009 and I went to a meetup. And as I was walking to my car, he's like, hey, Sean, I'm writing about you in the book, so you better follow through with all the stuff you said you were going to do because I don't want to rewrite that chapter. So that was August. By the end of the year, I'd sold my car, quit my job, moved to Thailand, and started a business. So I didn't let him down, which was good. Another guy is Dan Andrews, the Tropical MBA. In January, he's the reason I decided to go to Thailand, is because he offered me this first Tropical MBA internship, which at the time was a sales page, and he had no blog or anything. So I was like, I have no idea who you are, but we'll give this a shot and see what happens. And that turned out to be the perfect, thing for both of us. I was able to learn from him, help him with his business, and he was able to leverage, my audience a little bit to help build the Tropical MBA, which, they're bringing their 9th intern, on board in January, which is, really pretty cool. Also, from outside the blogosphere, my friend Ryan has been my best friend since college. He quit his job right around the time we got back from Brazil. He's the guy I took that trip to Brazil with. And he moved to, he had saved up $30,000 and moved to Hawaii to become a cabana boy for 8 months. And then in January of 2010, he was going to, take the money and go take a world trip. And so I would talk to him on my lunch break every day. And he'd be like, yeah, I'm sitting in the hammock, getting ready to go surfing. And then I got to go, be lotion boy at the resort. And you hear that and you're like, all right, I can't sit here for the rest of my life and listen to him tell these stories. And so, basically it worked out great. I convinced him to come to Thailand in January of 2010 and start his trip there. So, I got to start his trip with him. He traveled all over the world, and, we still do some traveling together, which has been a lot of fun.
There's a difference between the people who hear cool stories like that and say, oh my God, well, I better just figure out what he's doing because I need to be a cabana boy too. I want to be lotioning up some people right now. There's a very small percentage of us who feel that, and a lot of our readers are these people. But then a large majority of people look at it and they're like, I could never do what he's doing, or worse, what the hell, this guy's an idiot. Like, what the hell does he think he's doing? He's like doing something stupid. Yeah. And I don't know why or how that happens. But do you have any?
This is actually something that I've been thinking a lot about lately because it's really kind of interesting to me. When I see people maybe that I haven't seen in a while, or I meet new people, first thing I'll talk to them about, what they're up to, and genuinely be interested and ask a lot of questions. And then they'll ask me, and I'll, say things like, well, I run an internet business, or, I was living in Bali for the last 2 months. And that's not to brag by any means. Yeah. That's just what I've been doing. And I would say 80 to 85% of the time, people say, oh, that's cool.
I know.
Turn around, and that's all they say. And I'm like, man, I just talked to you for 20 minutes about your accounting job. I would think you'd be kind of interested in what I'm doing. But I think part of it is that they do have these fears, and it's like, oh, I'd never be able to do that, or oh, that's not me, or oh, whatever. And so they don't want to hear any more about it. So most of the people I meet are not real interested in what I do, which is kind of interesting. I've got a blog and I get all these emails from people that are interested, but people I meet in real life, for the most part, they're just not that excited about it.
And it really depends where you go too. When you get to the right places, you get to meet the right people. I went to a Chris Gilbo meetup when he was doing his first in New York City when he just launched his book.
Yep.
And he'd give a presentation. And then I went to a bar where everybody was going out after, and like 2 people recognized me from my YouTube video in one bar in New York City. I'm like, this never is ever gonna happen. But it's like that self-selected group of cool people.
Yep. I still remember the first, it was the opening party at the World Domination Summit last year. We were waiting, we had just opened the doors, and one of the first 2 people that came in were this Japanese couple. And they're like, are you Sean Ogle? Can we get a picture with you? And I was just like, whoa, we just took this to a whole new level. And absolutely you can get a picture with me. Can I buy you a drink?
No, seriously.
So that was pretty cool. And you start realizing that it's like, I don't want to use the word like, minor internet celebrity, but in some ways that kind of is, because, there's people that would rather meet you than meet, Tom Cruise.
I know.
Well, maybe that's maybe not quite.
Still, like, I don't give a shit about Tom Cruise. I'd rather meet you than him too. It's like, it's finding the right niche, and I also like the fact that we don't have to be celebrities anymore to be like celebrities in the past were celebrities to everybody, and then non-celebrities were non-celebrities to everybody. And these days, like, I went to a conference about persuasive technology, and BJ Fogg is this professor who invented it. And I went there, and every conversation at this conference was about BJ Fogg. Every person was talking about it to some extent. And so this guy's like the king. He was famous for 4 days, and then he walks away and he's a normal guy. And I love that about our business, is that like we get to be a niche famous, like the World Domination Summit, you guys are going to be kings. But then you walk away and nobody's taking, there's no paparazzi following you.
Exactly. Exactly. It's like you can look at even the biggest, people like Chris or, Tim Ferriss has maybe crossed that threshold where he gets recognized more. But Chris can probably walk down the street and for the most part, no one's ever going to, bother him or know who he is or anything. And, that's a pretty cool position to be in my mind.
When I was talking to Tim, he told me that basically in San Francisco he gets recognized all the time and it sucks for him. But he told me that he was in Berlin, and most people don't know him in Berlin. But he was at a bar just writing in his book, and suddenly this guy walks up to him, grabs a chair, sits on it backwards, and he's like, "You're Tim Ferriss! I want to talk to you! What are you doing in Berlin?" And he starts pointing at it for every question. And Tim's like, "Dude, leave me alone!"
All right, stop with the pointing and go over there.
Yeah, and that's actually a little bit of a fear. Like, I'm not really worried about getting famous, but I don't want to be that famous. That's too much. But yeah, so I want to talk to you a little bit about your email list and how you're working with that on your site. So, how many subscribers do you have these days?
I've got about 3,000, maybe 3,500 people on my email list. So, compared to a lot of people, it's not huge, but it's enough to make a dent in what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, and do you know like the conversion rate for when you send emails for sales or for affiliate stuff?
I'm one of the worst entrepreneurs in that regard. I've done a little bit of split testing and traffic, and I can, tell you basic things about my open rate or my click-through rate. But when it comes to sales and stuff, that's actually something that just this week I sat down and kind of said, all right, here's what I need to do to start actually getting on the ball with this stuff. So you're much better off talking to someone like Derek Halpern or something to get all that information. But
what is your open and your click-through rate, though, on most of your emails?
Most of the stuff I get about a 50 to 60% open rate and a click-through rate of anywhere from 10 to 30%, depending on what I'm, talking about.
It's really interesting to watch like email lists and see like unsubscribes and subscribes. And like these days, I'm getting close on. You use Aweber?
Yeah.
I'm getting really close to like the next tier for paying.
Right.
So I'm like, everybody unsubscribe if you don't like this blog. I don't want to pay the extra $50 a month.
Exactly. Well, that's one of the things you have to deal with is the more like as you're sending out emails, you're also the more people on your list, the more unsubscribes you get. Like just by virtue, it's like someone signs up for the free book or whatever, and especially if you're, we got the Only 72 sale going on right now, so I send stuff out about that, and that leads to more unsubscribes. And you can't take that stuff personally.
Yeah.
And, a lot of times I just, block that number. I was like, I don't even want to know because it's just going to make you, like, self-conscious. And you're like, what did I do? Like, what?
And I've noticed that the people who unsubscribe are the people who weren't going to buy your stuff anyway.
Exactly. And it's not even, like, I don't look at this an email list as, yes, it is a sales funnel in some ways, but I want to provide as much value as I can. I want people to, open my emails and be like, oh, I got something out of this. I don't feel like I was, in 90% of the emails, I don't feel like I was pitched or, was trying to sell me something, and that's something that I've thought a lot about. I probably need to do a little bit of a better job with, but that's how I look at it. It's just a way to add more value to their lives and, create more of a relationship with them.
So let's talk a little bit about your email list, since 100% of my emails from you are Only 72. So I've been basically pitched.
Yeah, there you go.
That's because I signed up a couple yesterday. So how do you do it? Do you basically just repeat the articles on your blog, or do you write a completely different content for your email list?
Generally, I try and do completely different content. If you sign up for either Location Rebel or Location 180, they both have autoresponder series where I just said, okay, I want to provide as much value as I can. So Location 180, you get the e-course called 6 Steps to Location Dependence. So it's 6 weeks, and you get one email a week where it's got one very actionable item for how to push yourself further down this lifestyle. With the Location Rebel, I have a series of emails, and each one talks about the concepts from a different video that people get. So whether it's community, skill building, whatever. And then I'll just periodically send stuff out. If I've got I don't send updates, so people that sign up, they don't get every single post. I don't want to bug them that much. But once every week or two, if I have a post that I think is particularly good, I'll just send them a more casual email saying, hey, I was really proud of this. Check it out. Thought you might be interested.
Yeah.
And I found people respond to those much better than just about anything else I've sent.
Okay. They respond to the emails that are based off of your blog content.
So they respond to the emails that are just short, casual, and they sound like, an email that I would send to a friend. Hey, I just wrote this article about, the status quo or whatever. There were some interesting thoughts. I'd love to get your opinion. Check it out.
Okay. They're really interesting. I've been watching like some of the like kings of internet marketing or whatever, like the ones who sell like serious MMO products or whatever, and you watch the emails that they send, and it's really interesting to see like the ones that sometimes convert the best are where it's just like 2 paragraphs and then a link and it says check out this video here, click.
Exactly.
It suddenly takes you like a product launch for nowadays.
And one thing I got I got an email from Dave Navarro, the launch coach, today. And,
oh yeah, I saw that today.
And so he was basically talking about he was talking about Jeff Walker in particular. And he has this super salesy, very like in your face sales stuff, but that's just what his list is used to. But if you try and implement those same strategies in you're gonna get unsubscribes like nobody's business, and people aren't going to be interested. They're just going to start to filter it out. So, most people can't do that. So you got to figure out what works with your audience, with, your list in particular. And, I think most of the time that means constant value add.
Just for a quick recap, the Dave Navarro email today was about how one person, Jeff Walker, I believe is his name.
Yep.
He sells a product called the Product Launch Formula, and almost all of his traffic comes from affiliate sources. So he just sledgehammers over sales emails to the new people who are on his list, and that's acceptable because the quality of his traffic is essentially funneled affiliates, and he doesn't care if he really gets a lasting relationship with these people. He's just trying to sell a product, which is fine. It's just different. Whereas we are trying to build a business where we have people who trust us, we're building a following, and we don't want to sledgehammer people with sales emails. We're trying to build an actual following who will listen to us because we're providing value.
Yep.
And so the funny thing is I had already written up an Only 72 sales email today. And then I had written up half of it, and then I got that email in my inbox, and I looked at it, and I'm like, all right, I can do without his affiliate income. He's smart. Dave Navarro's right. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah. And especially with a sale like that where, a lot of people are getting... There's probably people that are getting a dozen emails today about Only 72.
Yeah.
And, I'm promoting it. A lot of it's because I do have a product that's in it. But, if I didn't, I would think twice about, whether or not I would promote it, just because people do get so burnt out after hearing that for 3 days straight.
Yeah.
That said, it's an incredible deal, so I don't mind doing it because it does add value to the people that pick it up.
Definitely. It's a tough distinction. I'm going to say that prior to launching my site this time, I've been doing basically purely sales emails because it was just, I set up an autoresponder and I never updated it, and it was doing well enough. And now when I try to add value and actually create posts, the cool thing is I'm getting more sales, absolutely, but I don't even care because the biggest thing is I'm getting more and more emails of people offering, they're really I got testimonials already sent to me. I got a few people who have just offered me services. They're just hi, I've seen your site. It seems really interesting. I'd like to help you with your copywriting.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And it's when you start actually providing value, you start to really build.
Well, I get one guy, and he's like a lawyer in the Midwest, and almost every single post he sends me an email saying, oh, you had a typo, or oh, you misspelled something. And he does it in a way that's purely I love what you're doing and I want to see you help, and I'm not the best proofreader in the world, admittedly. So it's really nice to see. And something that I found that works really well with my emails and really helps, show people how genuine I am is almost every email I'll say, so what can I do for you? Just hit reply. Anything you want, if there's something I can do, let's open up a conversation. And I probably get, 15 to 20 emails for every email I send out from people just saying, sometimes it's as simple as keep doing what you're doing, thanks for providing the content. Sometimes it's they want advice on their own blog or business or whatever it is. And, that's just an opportunity for me to get to talk to people more and, figure out what they're doing and hopefully, make a small difference in their life.
So from your blog posts and your email posts perspective, what have you found has been really, really effective in getting a lot of traffic or getting picked up? Or is it longer posts? Is it story posts? What sort of brings in traffic that is good?
It's all over the map. Some of the big definitive how-to posts I've written are by far the most traffic I get. Mm-hmm. So there's 2 posts in particular. How to become an SEO freelancer in 48 hours. And how to build a membership site in 48 hours. Okay. Those are the 2 longest.
48 hours.
So I was going with this 48-hour series, which I kind of like. And those are the 2 longest posts I've ever written, and I get hundreds of views on that a day still, okay. And I wrote those months ago. So if you've got in-depth knowledge on
how long are these posts?
I think the SEO one was about 4,500 words,
okay.
And the membership one was 6,500 words.
Serious posts.
So serious posts. And so, if you've got in-depth knowledge on something, put it in a big definitive post, and, that's going to, if it genuinely, adds value, is like a how-to book, the kind of thing that could be sold as an ebook, those get a lot of traffic. Mm-hmm. I've also found that, generally, much more so than a lot of people, I don't like to, ruffle feathers. I don't want to, piss a lot of people off. So you won't see a lot of really strong opinions on my blog. But when I do, a lot of times it comes across as this, arrogant cockiness, but everyone knows that's not my personality. And so it's they like to see the humor in it. So for instance, when I had this article hit Yahoo a few weeks ago, there was 700 comments, 2,000 Facebook likes, and all of these comments. It was on a post called 6 Businesses You Can Run from a Tropical Island.
I read that, yeah.
And all of these posts were just the most ignorant, unbelievable comments from people saying there's no way you can do that. That's absolutely no way.
I was laughing at those comments.
So I went through and I copied a few of those, and I basically gave personal responses to each of the things they said. And people, that was one of the biggest posts I've had in a long time. People loved that because, I was kind of arrogant and kind of like cocky about it, but in a very like joking, just like, can you believe this kind of way?
I know.
Also, the one other kind of post I found is where I give real in-depth information into my business. I had a post earlier this year called Why My Lifestyle Business is So Successful. And that was the first time I ever released any financial information about my site, about how much money I make. And I broke it down for the month of, I think it was the month of May, exactly all the income I made. And so not only did that help build credibility, but people also look at that and they're like, oh, I see where this is coming from. This actually seems much more attainable now that I see how you're doing this.
I've noticed like Pat Flynn obviously is the king of like releasing his financial information, and then there's a few other nomads who also release their information, and it's super interesting. Like those are the posts I love reading. But like from your perspective, you said that over the last 6 months, for example, like on average, how much do you think that you are earning or grossing per month?
It just based on what I do, it varies wildly. For instance, the month of September when I released Location Rebel, I think I had $13,000, something like that. On a given month, it's usually somewhere around $5,000 at this point, and that comes from a variety of places: SEO consulting, affiliate marketing, and product sales for the most part, and some of the work I do for Chris Skillabo.
You consult for SEO as well? Like
so that's how I got my start. So I went to work for the Tropical MBA, started learning SEO to help Dan's businesses, and then once I got back from Thailand, I kind of said, okay, I need to find a way to sustain this, so I did some SEO consulting.
So you continue to do that these days?
It kind of depends. I'm doing a little bit right now just because they're kind of either close friends or people that I know I can really help out with. That's one of the nice things about what I do is I can, if I need more money, I can ramp that up. Or if I'm putting together a program like Location Rebel, I can back off on that and really focus on, what I need to and then generate the affiliate income from it. So.
And how are you finding the like percentage of income? Is it like product sales, then affiliate, then SEO consulting, and then Chris Skillabo?
Right now, Chris is definitely the lowest. I don't work a ton of hours for him at the moment. The last couple months, Location Rebel's definitely been the biggest chunk of that. And then I would say affiliate and consulting probably round out the next, it's probably 25% each, with Location Rebel being 50%.
Yeah.
So, it varies wildly from month to month, but, it's on a typical month, that's probably what it looks like.
5 to 6 or whatever $1,000 a month. It's nice. So how much do you think your expenses are?
Low.
Yeah.
That's one of the great things is, when you're doing information products or affiliate marketing, it's like you don't have costs of goods. It's like I'm not investing half the price of the product in the materials, and so I can put up a site. I've got my hosting fees and maybe some marketing fees, things like Aweber or whatever. But for the most part, my expenses are pretty low, and especially when I'm traveling, I've got enough of a network now that I can usually find places to stay for free or relatively cheap, and so. There's, as a digital nomad, for lack of a better term, there's all sorts of ways you can get around without having to spend a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah, we were just talking to the king of that today, Tynan, who was talking about getting a private jet for $1.
Oh, he's the king of it, yeah.
And then Chris Skillabo talks about frequent flyer miles. And I've noticed, I've got over 500,000 miles using credit card deals.
Yep.
And I've noticed that if I just probably put that much time into my business, I'd probably have made enough money to afford these tickets.
Yeah, it's funny how that works.
But have you been doing any frequent flyer mile?
A little bit. I got the Chase deal that came out for British Airways in the
100K miles?
February, so I got 100,000 miles for that. So my trip to Bali this last time, was pretty much paid for. I flew. The nice thing about it is you can fly in any of their partner airlines. So I flew Cathay Pacific out of San Francisco, and it was only 50,000 miles. So I still got another round trip flight. And if I want to go to Europe, which I'm thinking I'm going to do next year, it's only 25,000. So I can get 2 round trip tickets to Europe, based on the miles I've already got, which is pretty cool.
20,000 if you go off season. It's real nice.
There you go.
Man, it was funny. I was talking to a guy a few days ago, and he's like, "Yeah, I just went around the world. My dad had these mileage deals. I don't know really, but he just booked it for me." I'm like, "Print that out. I want you to question me." He's like, "All right, how many miles do you think it was?" And I guessed exactly based on his route how many miles it would cost. And he's like, "You got that to the exact number." I'm like, yeah, I really don't have much of a life.
I don't have a life. Now you see what he's really doing in his free time.
I really memorized the mileage chart. It's ridiculous. I called up the AA helpline, and the girl recognized me.
It's funny, you just said AA helpline, so I'm thinking you're talking about Alcoholics Anonymous. And I was like, oh, is there something else you need to tell us right now?
American Airlines.
I think I'll tell you this is completely unrelated, but I knew I had made it. I was getting started with affiliate marketing. This was right around the time I quit my job, and I was trying to do some PPC stuff and some Facebook stuff, and so I had an affiliate manager, and I called him up, tell him what I was doing, and he's like, "Wait a second, do you have a blog? Are you Sean? I follow your blog." And I was like, All right, now I'm on to something. And that was when it was like 5 months old, so that was a pretty big deal for me.
That's pretty cool. And like, it doesn't happen enough, really. You never really.
But when it does, it just makes you appreciate it that much more.
It's the truth. I love it. So so I think that's really interesting about how you're going with. You said that the product sales are the biggest sales, the most amount of money for your courses. I find that seems to be true. And really, the question is, do you feel like you're generating enough value that it makes it worth it? Like, are people really getting enough out of the course on average that the $300 that they're spending on your course?
I would say, like, I don't want to sound cocky or anything when I say this, but I think that I could charge twice as much as I'm charging for Location Rebel, and people are still going to get incredible value. Especially to see over the last couple months, just how people have actually taken the stuff, learned the skills, and turned that into dollars in their pocket. I mean, that's huge, and to have that built-in support system. Now just the resources you get through going back through the forums for the last couple months, it's incredible. You get a lot more information on finances and business structure and stuff like that. It's been fun to see. And so I'm working on 3 more blueprints that should hopefully be live by the end of the year. And so, one's on how to become a pay-per-click consultant. One is an affiliate marketing blueprint, because that's the thing that everyone said they wanted the most. Yeah. And one is on how to create a niche product. And so it's like I wanted to basically start with all the real skills. You can freelance doing these things, but then a lot of the program is about lateral skill sets. So it's like if you want to become an SEO person, it's also good to know copywriting and web design, for instance. And so I want to give people more ways to cash in on these skills they've built. So teach them how to create a product around something they're an expert in, then leverage their copywriting skills to work on the sales page and create the product, do the SEO to drive more traffic to it. So really, it's like you start out, with everything. You can do, start with freelancing, get on like Elance, Odesk is the most basic way of doing some of these things. Move into the intermediate stuff, or maybe you offer, freelance services on a blog or something like that. And then you've got some of the advanced stuff that you can do later on, where you basically build your own products or create your own things out of this. So just trying to run the gamut of different ways to make Location Rebel income. Yeah.
That's really cool. I think that there's a lot of different ways to make money online, and people don't recognize that there's more than one way. Everyone thinks that it's, okay. So I think I read one of the comments on your Yahoo post that was like, well, there's only 5 or 6 bloggers that are making a lot of money, and really all those other people are lying about it. But at the end of the day, it's really, there's just so many different ways to approach the attack. Yep. Like to figure out a way to make money, and there's just like I see that most monetization strategies end up in either ads or affiliate sales or in product sales. Yep. Have you seen any other significant methods of making money online with a blog that has a high platform?
Services, the people, I would say that ads, affiliate, product sales, those are definitely the big ones. But people that have large audiences or whatever, for them to go through, and especially if they have high price services, you've got a really popular, like you can look at like SEO Moz or something. So they're the kings of the SEO niche, and if you want to hire them for consulting stuff, you're paying insane amounts of money for it. So I think that the people that are capitalizing on the services are the ones that have established themselves as experts and have that audience to make it worthwhile.
Have you ever offered services on your blog?
I actually do. So it's I offer lifestyle business consulting. So if if you're interested in kind of doing what I'm doing, and you don't want to do the kind of self-paced Location Rebel program, you can hire me, and I'll do coaching for that. And I also do I've got a form where you can fill out for SEO work. And for the most part lately, I've just been saying I'm not accepting it right now. But it all kind of depends on the client.
But in general, do you tend to get people like asking for lifestyle design advice?
I get a lot of I kind of tried it out as an experiment, because most of the time people will just email me and ask me questions. It has no idea. They either don't know I ask consulting or have consulting, or they don't care and they're just going to ask the question anyway. And that's kind of a tough business to get into, because I want to help people. So if someone asks me or sends me an email, generally I'm going to answer the question. So I think it's more for the people that they want an ongoing. It's like they'll pay you X amount of dollars a month to do like in-depth like business development. So I think that's the better way to look at it.
And honestly, these days I've been noticing the difference between having someone who just sells you a course and it's being self-paced. The courses I've taken, for example, often just disappear. Yeah. Whereas the ones where people offer a way to they continually motivate you are really life-changing, because they're the ones like it's not that there's the information's out there. Nobody needs to buy one of our courses to figure out anything.
Right.
The fact is that it's all out there, but you just don't want to go through it, or you don't want to compile it. But when there's somebody like, I started emailing and Facebook messaging all of my students, and they're like, dude, what's up? Why is the teacher of my class messaging me on Facebook? I'm like, yo, man, it's nothing personal, but like, you need to get your act together because I want to see you succeed. So start working. And people just don't always do the work when they have these courses.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing I found is that's what people want more than anything else. They want someone who's going to hold them accountable.
Yeah.
And if you can find a way to like build that personal connection, and if you see someone's not doing what they said they were going to do, send them a personal message. I mean, that's the biggest thing you can do with any of these things, I think.
Yeah. It's funny now, I'm like, I'm getting mad at my students. I'm like, I don't care about your money. Take your money back. Just goddamn it, build a business, please.
It's not about the money. It's about helping you.
I gave away my course at this meeting in Berlin, this 4-hour work week meetup we used to have. And all I said was like, listen guys, you guys are all my friends. I'm not going to charge you a lot. All I need you to do is donate 10 euro to anybody. Go out on the street and give 10 euro to anybody, any homeless bum on the street. Yep. I'll give you my course. 3 people did it, and those 3 people know that nobody even watched the videos. And I'm like, this is why the only people who do it have to be self-motivated, at least a little bit.
And that's the thing. I periodically, I'll get people that maybe they're acquaintances or whatever, and they'll email me and say, oh, will you give me a free copy of your program?
Yeah.
And generally, the only reason I would say no is because, if I give it to you for free, you're not going to value it. You're not going to go through it. You're not going to do it. You have to pay for it.
Yeah.
And there was one person when I was in Bali, she asked me, she's like, hey, can I see it? And I was like, why? Why should I, everyone else is paying $300. Why should I give it to you? She's like, because I asked. And then I was like, well, give me a real response. Like, think about it. And she basically said no. She's like, it's not worth my time. You were sitting here and I wanted to ask. And I was like, okay, well then, absolutely not. If you're too lazy to even do that, then you're obviously not going to go through the program. So
absolutely. So anyway, Sean, I think that's a great interview. We got a lot of information going on.
Covered a lot of
here.
stuff.
Yeah, so it's very nice to meet you. Thank you very much. You guys should all check out Location 180 and Location Rebel. You'll see it all at SeanOgle.com.
Correct.
And come to the World Domination Summit. It's in June, I believe.
It's going to be in July this year.
In July in Portland. It's Chris Guillebeau's big conference, lifestyle design conference. Sean will be there definitely. I'm hopefully going to be there DJing, so I'll see you guys on the other side.
See you guys later.
Thanks.